All right, Igor is here. So let me make you a presenter and we'll go from there. For some reason, it's not showing you, Igor, on my listing. Oh man. Oh yeah, you're here. You're already a presenter. So if you wanna bring your camera up, if you wanna share video or unlock your mic, Igor, can you hear us? Okay. My chat window is really slow. Maybe you are typing and I can't see where you are typing. So, okay, it does not work. Do you want to maybe sign out and sign back in? Because to me, it shows you as a presenter already. Let me see if I can shortcut. Yeah, it shows you fine here as a presenter. I'm not sure why you're not able to sign in. Yeah, you are a presenter. Yeah. Okay, let me make you an attendee and make you a presenter once again. See if that does the magic. All right, see if you can do it now, Igor. Yeah, Igor, you are presenter here for me. Do you want to maybe sign out from Teams and sign back in? Hopefully that will do the trick. Oh, it shows you live now as a presenter. Igor, can you hear us? Yeah, you are a presenter here for me. I'm not sure if you try to sign out and sign back in. Do you want to try that? Okay, let's give it a try. So sorry, everybody. Let's give Igor some time. He's gonna join back in. Hopefully that will do the trick for us. All right, Igor. Again, it shows you as a presenter. Do you want to try to share your screen, please?
Hello, can you hear me? Can you see me?
We can hear and see you.
Oh,
All
thank you. I
right.
guess no presentation is complete without a technical issue. So
We'll do a session on overcoming the technical issues
uh,
of
that,
Teams.
that would be impossible. Okay. All right. Not, you can hear me. You can see me. Let me share
Yeah,
my screen. Can you share my screen? Can
you
you see
can
my screen?
share your
Sorry.
screen. Yeah,
Okay.
you
Perfect.
should be able to.
All right. So that's always a good start. All right. All right, hello everybody. And first, I would like to say a big thank you to Victor for organizing the whole event and make it happen. It was a great presentations. We've seen a lot of great presentations today, and the bar is very high, so I'll try to make it as dynamic and interesting as possible. So what are we going to talk about? It's integration between Dynamic 365, Blazor, Azure Function, and Azure SQL. Okay, so I'll go next. My name is Igor Shvets. I'm an independent consultant. I'm located in Montreal, Canada. I've been involved with the dynamic and power community with a few years now. You can take a picture of this QR code if you want to get in touch with me, and it would be a pleasure for me to hear from any one of you. So if you have any questions, please ask after the session, and if you want to chat further, feel free to reach me on LinkedIn, and it will be a pleasure for me to answer any questions that you might have. Okay, so as you all know, we're all in Canada. So fun facts, which obviously the first one I haven't tested it myself, but I heard that the resident of Churchill, Canada, that it's also known the polar bear capital of the world, leave the cars unlocked, which is very Canadian, for the pedestrian who might encounter a polar bear. The bear season also comes with the implementation of a 24-hour hotline. And Canada only got its flag on February 14, 1965, 100 years after it became a country officially. So one more thing to add about Canada, probably the resident of Churchill also say sorry when they see a polar bear. So this is some stereotypical information about Canada. So the objective of this course, of this presentation today, is to have a high overview of Blazor, what it's all about, the Blazor WebAssembly and the Blazor server side that we're going to see. We'll also see an overview of Azure Functions. We will see Azure SQL. We'll see some logic apps. And to sum it all up, we'll see a small demo application that uses all the technologies above. All right. So one disclaimer for the presentation today. Basically, try to see it as the building blocks when building your business solution. We're not going to be covering a lot of good practices because it will make the session much more complicated and long than it needs to be. So pretty much see the way you need to build a house. You have a bricks, and we will see how those bricks connect together to build a house. So first thing is first, let's look at Blazor. So what is Blazor, you might say? Blazor, this is something I've been waiting for very, very long time because most of us know that most of the web development, you can split the web development in two parts. You have the server side and you have the front end. So if you want to build an interactive and beautiful and dynamic front end, you would need to use JavaScript. And if you like me and you do not like JavaScript, well, pretty much your options are very limited. Now, Microsoft came with very interesting initiative called Blazor. Essentially, now you'll be able to use your existing .NET C# knowledge to build the interactive front end using this .NET technology. So if you're going to ask me why this is relevant to the Power Platform session, I'll tell you this, that if you have an external, if you want to have an application that is external, that would need to speak to your Dynamics or Power Platform as a backend, Blazor is a good alternative because it's easy to develop. You can leverage your .NET and C# knowledge. You can deploy it very easily on Azure. It has a full ALM support. So basically, there are two flavors of Blazor. One that I played around with, and the second one I didn't. Not that much, is Blazor WebAssembly and Blazor Server. So today we're going to see an example of Blazor Server, but also you should know that the Blazor WebAssembly exists. So we will look at quickly when and why you would use either one of them. So one thing to remember, the Blazor WebAssembly, this is running inside your browser. It connects to the UI thread, and it takes care of it. So basically, this is running purely on the client side. You have a Blazor server that is running on the server and using SignalR to communicate with your ASP.NET Core backend. Let's go to the next slide. So basically, you have benefits of and the downsides of using each one of those technologies. So benefits of using the server, the download size is significantly smaller than the WebAssembly because most of the logic happening on the server. The advantage is the app takes full advantage of the server capabilities, including any other .NET Core API. .NET Core is used to run the app, so existing tooling and debugging, as we're going to see a bit later, will be expected. Pretty much all the co-op clients you can use for the Blazor server. The disadvantages come with the potential higher latency because, again, everything is happening on the server. There is no offline support. And the scalability can be challenging if your application is going to have if you have many users. Though from what I've seen so far, if you're not building a new Facebook engine and we staying within business application, it will be an unlikely issue for most of us. And another downside is the ASP.NET Core server is required to serve the app. Okay, Blazor WebAssembly. The benefits is you don't need any server-side dependencies. Everything is happening on the client side. The resources of the clients that are very powerful right now are fully leveraged. The work is offloaded from the server to the client, so you can run a very powerful client-side application. And the ASP.NET Core server isn't required. So the downside of the approach that the app is restricted to the capabilities of the browser. You need to have supported client hardware and software because not all browsers are supported at this point, and there is a list of what is supported, what is not. The download size initially is larger, so initial loading time might be higher. And from what I see so far, it's not a fully mature. It's not a fully mature system. So let's take a look at the quick demo of how the Blazor application looks like. So if we close out of PowerPoint, we'll start Visual Studio. We want to create a new project. And we'll look at the Blazor app. Once you click Next, it would ask you for the project name, solution name. Continue clicking Create. You have two choices between Blazor Server and the Blazor WebAssembly. Click on Create. It's going to wait a few seconds, and you're going to have your Blazor application that it's going to be created in a moment here. All right, looks like we're all loaded. So if we click on execute, a new page opens up. And Microsoft gives you a demo front end for you to play around with this. So you have two examples. You have the example of the counter. So you can click counter multiple times and it will increment. So something noteworthy, if you, for example, if you select 10 and you click, it will change because this is the only thing that changes. However, if you select current count, you can click and you will see that everything stays the same. The current count doesn't change. The only thing that changes is this dynamic part. Also, to give you an example of how the fetch data works, obviously it's not connected to any it's not connected to any backend. So every time you refresh, you will get a different data, but you can see how it looks under the hood. So let's take a quick look at it. So if we look at pages, you can look at counter page, and you will see that what you have is you have a header one called counter. You have a current counter with a variable current count. And you have a button class button primary, and on click, the increment count is getting executed and it says click me. So interesting thing to see, for example, if I put a breakpoint inside the code, I click on execute, my Blazor opens up. If I click on click, and as you can see, you have a current counter it hits the breakpoint. So you can leverage the debugging capability of Visual Studio for your front end app. All right, let's click on next. This is it. So let's try to do something a little bit more fun and interesting. Let's create a small component. We're going to call it, we'll create add razor component. We'll call it counter input because we're going to be trying counter input. We're going to edit. We're going to put some code that I've prepared in advance. Click on save and click on execute. So if you want to navigate to this page, we're going to go counter input. Counter, if I knew how to spell it, would be much better. There you go. So I've added a little I've added a little box here, and you can see that the two numbers are basically connected with one another. So you have a two-way binding between the two. So if we look at the code behind how it was done, you will see that we have what we had same as before. We had current count. We've created an input, and we did bind the input to the current count. And on click, we implement the count. So as you see, it's very simple to bind it. So this is something I invite you to look into this thing further if you need to do any front end applications. So what else we can do? We can basically we created this component, and let's say we want to use this component inside our index page. All we need to do, we're just going to call it counter input, and as you can see, we have full IntelliSense on this end. Click on save and click on execute. And we just added you can see we just added a component to our front page. So from what I've seen so far, it allows you very pleasant developing experience. So do we have any questions so far on the Blazor side? If you have any questions, just please raise it, and we'll answer as they come along.
Yeah, we don't have anything yet. I'm amazed, but I don't have any questions.
Yeah, no worries. I'll have like, the more I play with Blazor, the more I like it. Granted, it's a new technology, so not many people are full experts. So I just use it only once in production, and so far I'm fully amazed of what you can do. So this is the idea is just to have a basic overview. If you want to know more, connect with me. We'll chat. There are a few interesting courses you can find on LinkedIn, not on LinkedIn, on Udemy, on Pluralsight. Honestly, I would like to have a user group, because for me, this is something that will change the future for most people who actually do business application, and especially independent guys like myself. And again, we'll see at the end of the session how I actually use it in the real life. So this is it. And one more thing about Blazor is you have proprietary products that are very interesting to use. So something I would like for you to be aware of. I personally use DevExpress. It's not free, but they actually have all these amazing components for Blazor already ready for you. For example, if you look at the data grid, you have all those amazing data grid out of the box that you can edit data. You can have a very complex UI already ready for you. So this is something I've personally used. I'm not affiliated with them, so obviously you can do everything for free using Bootstrap or any other tools. But it's good to be aware that you have other tools that exist. So, and for me, it also shows that the guys like DevExpress, they take this technology very seriously. So I just wanted to show you some charts that you can have with that, and this is fully developed for Blazor. So this is something you can use for your front-end application. So we will, in our example, in the end, we'll see those data editor features, the very basic features. You can have a calendar control. So this is something noteworthy. So if again, the guys like Telerik, like DevExpress, they built all bunch of controls for them. So not only Microsoft, but the other developers see it as a future-proof and interesting product. So let's stop here for Blazor, and let me go here. The next technology that's sorry about that. Let me escape. And start where we left off with the Control-Shift-5. Another noteworthy thing for the integration with your Dynamics, it's Azure Functions. And honestly, the more I look into this, the more I speak to people. This technology is used more and more for integration with the other software, because a successful application, a successful project, it's rarely the one that is standalone, right? When you develop a business application using Power Platform or Dynamics, okay, personally, I've never seen an implementation that doesn't talk to other systems. So something like Azure Functions can provide a lot of flexibility and power for your integration. So what is Azure Function? Basically, for me, it's a function as service. It's something that allows you to run a small piece of code called function to have your small business logic. And this is you can do without worrying about your infrastructure. You only paying for what you're using. Well, of course, you have another plans, but most of the time you pay as you go. And you have all bunch of triggers that we're going to see very quickly that you can leverage Azure Function to do for you. And the Azure Functions you can develop in .NET. This is my weapon of choice, but you're not limited to it. And you can use C#, JavaScript, F#. I don't know if anybody used it so far. I haven't. I know you can do it in Java. You can use PowerShell, Python, and TypeScript. So you have a lot of flexibility there for you. Also, Azure Functions have a lot of very, very interesting triggers. So you have HTTP trigger, which is self-explanatory. It's when you call the HTTP. You have the timer, so you can run at a predefined time. So it's a very powerful timer mechanism. You have Azure Cosmos DB trigger. I personally never used it, but I think it's extremely powerful. You can trigger it on a blob storage, queue storage, or event greet, event hub, service bus queue, and service bus topic for more complicated Azure integrations. So another beautiful thing about Azure Functions that they are ridiculously cheap. So if you follow this link, you can go and take a look how much they cost when you look at Azure Functions. If my browser would listen to me, which is apparently not the case. For some reason, it doesn't want to click. Okay, view. Azure Functions. So this looks like I have something I used it before. For the first 400 gigabytes second, the execution for 1 million executions are free. So in my previous implementation, we used the Azure function extensively. And honestly, I don't think we actually even paid a cent on it. So this is something to consider. It's very powerful for your integrations, it's free most of the time. The disadvantage is you need to be a developer to use it. It's not a drag and drop interface like Logic Apps or Power Automate. So this is what we have for the Azure Functions. And if I go next. After this, we're going to do a small demo of Azure Functions. So in the real development environment, you would use you don't have to do it from the portal. We're just going to do it for a demo purpose here. In the real demo environment, you will be using your Visual Studio Code to create it. But here it's going to be a little bit more visual. So we're going to look for the function app. We're going to create a new function app. We're going to choose resource group. It's basically the place where you group all your resources so you can monitor your cost and performance, etc. So we'll use function app. So I'm going to put Maple. Interesting, it exists. We'll publish in the code and not in a Docker container. It's a little bit outside of scope. As a stack, we're going to use the .NET Core. The version is going to be 3.1. We're going, obviously, to put it Canada East as we're in Montreal. The next thing we're going to look for the storage account. So when you create a function app, you must have a storage account. We'll use Windows as our operating system. Here you have a consumption serverless or app service plan. Again, I never seen somebody using the app service plan. It's when you have a huge integration and you want to have a predictable cost structure. And you can use app service plan. So far, if you stay for consumption, so far we only stayed at consumption, and it was perfectly sufficient. So if you have a huge project, maybe you can look into the other one as well. So we're going to next, monitoring. I don't think I ever use anything without adding monitoring to it, okay? Application Insights, it's a great tool, and honestly, it saved my life many times. So pretty much all the resources, the Logic Apps or Azure Functions, I always use monitoring tools. So first time we used without it, and anyways, we were it cost us a lot to troubleshoot without it. So when management did not want to pay it, we did not want to pay for it. Now we're paying for it, and it works much better. So please use it all the time. So the next one, tags, we're going to skip tags. We're going to create it. and we're going to create our Azure functions. It's going to take a few seconds to deploy. So if you have any questions, please ask now, because we're going to be waiting a few seconds here. If there's any questions, I'll be answering while we're waiting. Okay, I don't see the chat. I think I have a question from Reza. If you host the Blazor app in the storage and call Azure function, would it make it serverless? Reza, I'm not sure fully understand your question. Let's take it after the session, maybe offline. I'm not sure I understand. The refresh. We'll go to a resource. So we have our function up. Let's create our function. Let's call add the new function. So you have different options. You have your VS Code. You have any editor, development portal. We wanted to develop in portal. There are different triggers and templates for your function, right? As I mentioned in one of my PowerPoints, you have HTTP timer trigger, you have Azure blob storage service bus, etc. So today we're going to use HTTP trigger. We're going to call it the authorization. We're going to make it for the function. So you're going to have a function level security. We're going to click on add. It's creating our function. We'll look at the code of the function. And this is how our code looks like. So this, you have your C# code. You're waiting. You have a task with the async result, run HTTP request, and log the results. So it tells you that C# trigger. You're declaring a name of the function, and you look for the request. You're looking for the parameter called name. You have your body that you're reading and reading asynchronously. You convert, you deserialize the object, and you have your parameter name. And then as a response, you pass the parameter name, and you return the OK result. So what we can do, we can go ahead and test it here. So if you run the Azure function, there you go. You have the response that your HTTP function was successfully executed. So we can also test it with Postman. So we'll get the code of our function. We can copy that, and let's get a notepad. We'll put the information here in a notepad. Okay, so let's go to our Postman right here. Okay, let's just put it our function name. We'll go to the body, under raw data, under JSON. We'll have our name parameter. Hello. We'll execute it. And we have our Hello Canada. We know that the Azure function we've just created, we were able to execute it successfully. So now the question you might ask, how is it relevant to our Dynamics 365? Well, those Azure functions, you can call them directly from Dynamics 365. And to call them, you can use the webhooks. So if we take our plugin registration tool, we can register a new webhook, and we'll call it, let's say, account 8. It asks us for the endpoint URL, and this is why I use the notepad to copy the function. because the function has two parts to it. It has the URL and it has a token here. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to take the function. We're going to put it as the endpoint. We're going to put the webhook key. We're going to take the second part, and we're going to place it here. And we can click on save. And we can a new step. We're going to do it of the update of an account. Looking for the attributes. Let's say account name, account number. The event handler will, for the purpose of demonstration, we'll use it as is. Click on register the step. And one thing I want to do, I want to slightly change the code of our Azure functions. So I'll just, I think, was it the question? Okay, sorry. Okay, let me do this. So what I want to do with my Azure function, I'll do save. I want to log the information that has been called. I want to take the request body of what Dynamics is sending to us, and I just basically want to log the request body. So let's see if everything works. So I have my Dynamics environment somewhere. I'm going to use this account, and I'm going to put today's what, 5. Gonna do save. So we have updated the account. And if I go back to the Azure function and I look at the monitoring, the request, they go through? No, so just wait a few seconds. So I did the same presentation on for France yesterday, and it took some time to actually fire. Just wait a little bit. Might take a few moments. Update the account. Just for the good measure, let's see that everything was done properly. Webhook, the account, update the account, update step. So probably just waiting. If anybody saw any kind of mistake, let me know, but it might just take a few minutes to update. Okay, so we'll get back to this a bit later because I'm sure it's going to fire momentarily. So what we wanted to do as the next step, and I know we're running out of time a little bit. The next thing I wanted to show quickly is the Logic App and Azure SQL Server. Because this is something we use a lot recently, and with Azure SQL and Azure SQL and Logic App allows us a great possibility for integration. So what I've done here is, let me just delete it. Let me just delete this. Let me just delete this table. So what we want to do, we want to create a new table where we would keep a copy of the account. Like every time a new account is created in Dynamics, we want to have a logic app creating the copy of the record in the SQL Server. Obviously, you can have two-way communication. Anytime you create the record in SQL Server, it can write to Azure DB. So we'll put it as ID, put it as integer. No, we'll set it as the primary key. We'll call it name, say, and varchar 50. We'll not allow nulls. We allow URLs. It's going to be, let's say, and varchar 50. No, and one thing I always do when I have a communication between Dynamics and SQL, always put the GUID of the record you're trying to synchronize, because it's going to make your life much easier when you need to troubleshoot it. So we'll give it an identity so it increments. So we'll give it an identity. We'll set it to yes, and it's going to be 1. Save, that's going to be D365 accounts, and further maple sign. Okay. We'll create the SQL table. Let's just basically take a look here quickly if we have any updates. Yes, it just took time to update. If you're sorry, I'm jumping back and forth. When you look at your Azure function, you will see that our webhook got all this data from Dynamics, and we just copy this in our Notepad++. We're going to format SQL, and we have all this information that you can use programmatically from, if you remember, it's Tanya corporate account that we changed at 5:38 p.m., that you can take all this information in your Azure function and do whatever you want with this, with all the power of .NET and C#. Okay, so let me cancel out of this. So we have our table here. So that we just created. Get rid of that. And get rid of that. And if we want to do, let's refresh. This. So what do we have? And to maple salmon, we have nothing. Okay, so let's quickly create a logic app. Connect all of them. And I promise it's all going to make sense in the end when we look at the final application. So we'll take it pay as you go resource group. We're going to take the resource group logic app. It's going to be, please use better names. So just, since it's very expensive, I will be deleting it right after location Eastern Canada. So reviewing create. We'll create our logic app. And go to resource, start from a blank logic app. We'll look at common data service. When a new record is created, we'll select the environment. We'll take an entity account. Just give it organization. We'll add a SQL server. We'll call insert row, if I can find it, insert row. We'll choose insert row. No, it's and once we create that, we have the name of the account. We can put our account name. Account URL is going to be our website. And we're going to put the account unique identifier for the GUID. I'll click on save. All right, we have our logic app. So we'll go create a new account. It's going to be test account 546. The website is going to be anada.com. And we're going to do save and close. Let's look at the execution of our logic app. When account is created, account organization. Server name, yes, everything is good. Why is it not triggering? Usually it's a bit faster. There we go, succeeded. So we have a new record created in Dynamics, and it did write it inside our SQL server. So when you look at execute, you see the account we've created, and this way we saw how we can use Blazor for the front-end application. We've seen how we can use AzureFunction to capture webhooks from Dynamics, and we've seen there is a communication possible between between Logic Apps, Dynamics, and SQL Server. So I think at this point we can look at, let me just run this here first. We have 32 people. Control-Shift-5. Okay, so what are we going to do that's going to be a slightly simplified version of an application that we've created recently. Essentially what it is, it's for the restaurants. When the clients show up at the restaurant, Canadian government mandates the restaurant, when you visit them, you give your information in case there is a COVID detected in the restaurant. You can contact those people. So the architecture is the following. So you scan this code, you put your first name, last name, your phone number and email address, and you say if you accept marketing or you don't accept marketing. Once you submit it, everything goes to the SQL Server database. Now, if you selected that you accept the marketing, what it does, it creates a contact inside Dynamics 365, and an automated email is sent to you with a promotional Word or PDF template. So please take a look at that and put your information if you want. Your email should be the real one. Your phone number, we don't care. Let me know if one of you is able to put the information properly. If not, I'll just demo it. Just do it through your phone. Anybody's able to do it? Okay, let me see. We had.
I'm trying to connect here. Can you put the QR code again?
QR code? Yeah, there you go. QR code. Sorry, I have so many screens open up. There you go. I always have like a lot of moving parts in my presentations, I know. And the front end was done in Blazor.
That's really cool.
All right, so I know we have like 10 minutes, so I'll need to basically, if you had time, you had time. So we had 32 visitors. If I run this query, 35, yes, we do have few people. So what should happen in your email, you should receive a little promotional spam from me, but it's a real restaurant. It's actually my favorite restaurant. So you should see something like that. You go Blazor application, let's go Igor Shvets. I wish I knew how to spell my name. I'll do better next time. any code, doesn't matter. I have that many guests. I know I can put negative guests, which is weird, but I just didn't have time. So if I click submit, it will take me to this restaurant. If I click here, I have my name and I have no COVID notifications. So if I look at my Hotmail account, if I look at my Hotmail account, I should receive a spam from myself shortly. Did you receive marketing information? Anybody?
I received.
Yeah. All right. So if you, okay. I guess the internet speed is not my friend today, so we'll look at it a bit later. So what happens? What happens after? Let's say there is a case. Let's say there is a. There you go. I received it. So what you should receive, it's the marketing document, like this, personalized. Hello, Igor Shvets, and this is the marketing for the restaurant you visited. So what's happening behind the scenes? We'll see in a moment. If you selected that you wanted to have marketing information, you get created as an account, active accounts. Where's the any account? Oh, contacts, sorry. Let's look for my active contacts. Okay, let's say you get created as the contact. You would appear in here. So I'm not sure why we're not seeing them yet. Probably it takes a second. And for example, if you got if the restaurant had a COVID, what we do, we can just create a new COVID notification. We'll give it significant name, let's say Maple Summit. The infection date is today. And we can put an optional email text if we ever want to, if we ever want to communicate the COVID case to the users. We can click. Actually, hold on a second. Before I click save, you will see here that the visitors that we got, for anybody who submitted the information here, none of them received any COVID notifications. When I do save and close, all this should go away. So you know that right now, everybody received, we put a flag for a COVID notification received as yes. So how this was done? This was done using Azure functions. So we would pass Azure function as the webhook. So we would say like the information came from Dynamics, and this is just a simplified version of how it is. Like you obviously don't pass your connection string inside the Azure function. So we got the date from we get the date from the Azure function, and we can call a SQL connection that can execute stored procedure on the Azure function to update pretty much anybody who for any date range. So okay, the reason why I was not seeing any users because anybody who actually took a screen. Took a picture of the QR code. They did not accept marketing. Only myself I put as accept marketing. That's why I received it, I guess. So to do this, all I did is I created a Word template on Word Online, and put the first name and last name. And as the contact get created inside Dynamics 365 that allows us marketing, we just had a flow, a Power Automate flow that would just, there we go, I received receive the marketing information here. I would have a flow running in the background, generate marketing document that would, when the record is created, and the condition is you allow marketing, it would populate a Word template, create a file, send it by email, and update the record that the marketing got sent at the promotion for the restaurant got sent at this given date and time. So this is like, I know I'm running out of time. There is like 3 minutes left. So this is pretty much what I wanted to show today. I know we started a bit late because of the technical issues. I want to say, sorry, thank you for everybody who attended this session. That was great. I know there was like many moving parts. So I intend to do further session, like detailing each part and putting like more meat around the bones. But this is the application that we actually use in the real life, of course, not with that code, but this was the idea. You have external clients that you don't need any registration using QR code. You're just putting your information, and we take this information, we store it inside a central data repository on Azure SQL, which is secure and awesome. And if we need something, for example, if the person is interested in marketing or any other business logics, we can take it, we can give it to our platform to the citizen developers to do whatever they want to that, to send the marketing documentation, etc. So obviously things like Blazor, like AzureFunction, etc., it's still going to be for the professional developers. But once the professional developers done their job and they gave clear information to the business users, they can take it from there and take it to the new level. Thank you very much. We have 2 minutes. I think if we have any questions or discussion, we can do that.
There were some questions around licensing, especially when it comes to having the particular solution do what a licensed user would do. I know we are recording, so I can't really say much, but I don't see that blur in terms of this architecture. Just implementing pieces using different technology, I don't see that taking potential for a user job or a technology taking place of what a licensed user would do. I don't see that.
No, it's definitely not. Definitely not. Because I remember talking to Microsoft about it, because Azure SQL, it's expensive enough to basically to have a case for it. And we only use like you're allowed to use AzureFunction and SQL database, right?
Yes.
Can you create, of course, from that you can create contacts and put it inside your Dynamics, right? Because the end users, they don't interact with, like the visitor of the restaurant, they don't interact with the platform directly, right? They're interacted through SQL Server.
Yeah.
So
yeah, usually what it is a concern is if in your implementation you would qualify a lead per se, right? Use software to do the lead qualification. Therefore, you're taking what a licensed user would have to do in the sales module and moving it to another application. But then this is the same as creating a solution that uses some sort of Power Apps, and then you use a plugin or a webhook to do the lead qualification, or even a workflow, create data, on a different entity, and then take a workflow to translate the data on that custom entity into a lead and then qualify the lead. So that's a blurry area. I don't see that in your example, so I think it's good. One of the things that I thought was really exciting, and I may be looking into myself, is the use of Razor on the portal, on the client side
yes,
area for portals, because I've been playing with React and Vue for portal front client side scripting, especially to change a little bit of the look and feel of portal and make it more UX friendly on the client side, and I'm like you. I don't really enjoy the the
No.
JavaScript frameworks. I think it's complex, at least for me. Maybe not for some people. And yeah, I'll be looking into Blazor
Yeah.
for portals if it's a case. Yeah,
Yeah, so far I love everything I see. Again, I can see where it could be difficult for if you want to build a new Facebook. Like it could be heavy, but for business application, for what we do, like our complexity is not there, right? It's our
yeah,
complexity is not vertical, is horizontal, and this is
hmm
completely sufficient for what we need to do, right?
yeah. That is right. Well, Igor, thank you so much.
Thank
Folks, I
you.
put Igor's contact on the chat window. Connect with him, ask questions. It was a really cool demo. Thanks, Igor. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all.
Alrighty, next in line we got. Did you want to say something? Cut you off. Sorry, Igor.
No, no, no. I just wanted to say thank you, everyone.